Hi, I'm Tyler, and this is the Sharpshooter, teaching you valuable skills to make better videos. Today we're comparing two lights. The first is the Genaray SSL 36B, which is marketed as a 36-inch soft strip bicolor LED light for video and photography. It sells new for about $300. The second is the Real Work Tools light, which is marketed as a 5,000 lumen daylight balanced LED fixture. It's designed to be a light hung in garages and workshops, and I paid about $15 for mine on Black Friday a few years ago at a store called Rural King. You can buy them new for about $25 year-round when they're not on sale. Now, I did have to buy a few accessories for the work light to make it fit on my light stands. We'll talk about those details later, but I still spent less than $50 on the light and its fittings. Before we compare these lights, I'd like to talk a little bit about strip lights because you don't see too many people on YouTube reviewing them. Professional strip lights describe a type of light that's long and narrow. They're great for many applications. I often use them mounted vertically as a fill light for portraits because they evenly light a person from head to toe. I've also mounted them horizontally at tall heights to illuminate large backdrops up to about 10 feet wide. Most LED strip lights are diffused by design, so you don't need to use any additional softboxes to achieve flat, even lighting with very little shadows. And if you need a very large light source, you can stick one of these behind a large diffuser and it works really well to create very soft light. I'd recommend strip lights for any beginner or professional because they're simple and effective soft lights that are extremely versatile. So, let's talk about how these two lights are similar. They both produce bright, even light. So lumens are a brightness value and lux is a measurement equal to 1 lumen per square meter. Here's what you need to know. Manufacturers and industries rate their lights in different ways, and I don't have a light meter on me that can measure foot candles, so I can't give you the exact number on how these lights compare to each other. What I can tell you is that they both consume just under 60 watts when running at full brightness. And to my eye, they appear to be a very similar brightness value. The LEDs on both fixtures are mounted behind a plastic white diffuser, so they both produce soft, even light. Neither of these fixtures are equipped with cooling fans, so they both run silently. Lastly, they can both produce a daylight color temperature, which is about 5,600 degrees Kelvin. Technically, the Genaray is bicolor, meaning it can produce a daylight and halogen tones, while the work light is a fixed color rated at 5,000 degrees Kelvin, which to the naked eye and my camera is close enough to the true 5,600 daylight measurement that you won't notice any differences or any odd things happening with the color value. I've been using both of these lights for around 3 years on professional shoots, and I've been really happy with the results. Now, let's talk about the features of each light, and then we'll get into how they differ. First, I'm gonna say that Genaray is a great brand. I bought some of these and some Genaray Fresnels for corporate work a few years ago, and I've been very pleased. And at the time of making this video, I have not been paid to promote or endorse the brand. I used real money to buy these lights, and I stand behind this brand. So the SSL 36B is the bicolor model, ranging from 3,200 to 5,600 degrees Kelvin. It's a great choice for matching other light sources, like natural light coming in from a window, or older lights like halogen or fluorescence that some of you may be continuing to use. The controller pack allows dimmer and color temperature adjustment, and I haven't used this feature myself, but it does allow for wireless control. It includes barn doors to shape the light, and a lollipop mount, which allows you to mount the light at any angle on a standard 5/8 inch pin stand. They're powered by a standard AC plug or V-mount batteries, and the LED is rated for 50,000 hours. Lastly, it comes with a hard shell case to keep them protected during travel or storage. And I can really appreciate that because it seems like hardly any equipment comes with a case these days. You typically have to buy it separately. Now, let's talk about a few cons of this light. In comparison to the work light, it is more expensive. But I will say that for the quality and features this light has, it's still a very affordable light considering it's a professional photo video tool. Being a professional light means it's made to be durable. So it's no surprise that this light is kind of heavy, weighing about 8 pounds, and that's not including the controller pack. When I use this light on any shoot, I use it with C-stands. If it's mounted more than about 5 feet from the ground, I weigh the stand down with sandbags. In other words, you're going to need to spend some money on heavyweight light stands if you're going to use it. I recommend the basic Impact brand C-stands, which sell for about $120 new. Now, let's talk about the other one, the Real Tool Works light. So you can find these lights for about $25 new or $15 when they're on sale at Rural King. The models do change slightly from year to year, but the prices and basic features remain the same. As I said earlier, these are 5,000 lumen lights, and they're advertised as daylight balance at 5,000 degrees Kelvin. When I'm using them on a shoot, they match all of my daylight balance lights really well, and there's no sign that the color temperature is off. They have a simple pull chain to turn them on or off, and they cannot be dimmed. Believe me, I've tried. They're made out of an aluminum casing and acrylic frosted diffuser material in front of the lights, so they are very lightweight, coming in at about 2 pounds. And the LED is rated for about 30,000 hours of use. Now, to make these work for video or photography purposes, you will probably want the ability to mount them on a normal light stand. So here's how I mounted mine. I bought this cheese plate for $11 on Amazon. It comes with 2 screws, so I took a power drill and drilled 2 small holes through the aluminum casing and mounted the plate on the back of the light. Next, I bought these ball head mounts that adapt to light stands. They cost $12, and one end screws into the cheese plate, while the other end mounts onto a standard 5/8 inch baby pin light stand mount. Now I can mount them on any of my light stands, and you don't need a C-stand since it only weighs 2 pounds, which means you can buy cheaper, lightweight stands. So here's the cons of this light. If I mount it horizontally, it can be a bit flimsy. I recommend using Loctite thread blocker when locking the ball mount adapter to the cheese plate to help keep it tightly in place. The only big con I have about this light is that it's not dimmable. I've tried dimming it with an electrical dimmer switch, but it doesn't work. I've gotten around this by physically moving the light away from the subject or turning it slightly away from the subject. I've also put it behind large diffusers, but dimming it would be very convenient, especially if you're shooting in a small room. But then again, you can buy 5 of these work lights for the price of 1 Genaray. In fact, I have 4 of them. So here's my final thoughts on these lights. At full brightness, the quality of light they produce is nearly identical. Now, I know a lot of gear snobs are going to point out that the work lights don't have the same CRI or color rendering index as pro lights do. And technically, that's correct. But that argument doesn't hold up much these days, especially if you're buying an LED light or bulb from a major retailer or big box store. The consumer LED technology has gotten so good over the last few years that it's not really a concern at all in my opinion. To be fair, this was a concern about 6 or 7 years ago. The technology was still coming around at that point, and accurate CRI was a problem. I bought some LED work lights back in 2016 that I hope to use for video, and they had these weird yellow streaks that would beam out of them. I've had others that I've tried over the years that appear to strobe on camera, but I've tested a lot of lights from basic hardware stores since 2020, and the new ones all work great. Sylvania is the best for the price if you ask me, but I digress. Now, it goes without saying that the Genaray is more convenient. In my day job in my work studio, I'm constantly switching applications for these lights, and I'm often working in small spaces where the dimmer control is critical. I don't use the wireless feature, but I could see that being really handy when using these lights on a large-scale shoot to control different dimmer levels and color temperatures. And the hard case is really handy if you need to travel with it. But I can also tell you that the work light will fit in a generic light stand case. That's how I transport them. At the end of the day, these lights both do the same thing, and I recommend them both depending on your application and budget. If you've got the money and you need the pro features, you'll be really happy with the Genaray lights. And if you don't need a dimmer and you're willing to drill a couple of holes through some thin aluminum, I would also recommend these work lights. I've used them on a lot of big shoots and my clients have always been happy with the finished product. I also use them as a fill light and a chroma key light for nearly all of my YouTube videos, including this one. So don't be afraid to try them, even if they're not technically professional lights. I hope this helps you make a decision. I'm Tyler, and this is the Sharpshooter, teaching you valuable skills to make better videos.